Honestly, it's not an easy job working at a hawker centre. It's super, super hot.
What do you think that the government can do to keep this culture alive?
Aircon!
Facts, I agree.
Welcome to Mothership Hits the Streets. Hawker culture is an important part of Singapore's cultural heritage, going as far as to be inscribed on the UNESCO representative list. Yet there's a risk of such culture fading, with older hawkers slowly retiring and fewer younger ones joining the scene. In November 2024, the government recently passed a motion aiming to continue its supports for hawker. What do Singaporeans think? We hit the streets to find out. Do you guys usually eat at hawker centres and do you enjoy eating at hawker centres?
I mean, I do eat at hawker centre, usually breakfast, like with my grandfather.
My family and I eat at hawker centres pretty often, but most of the time we will actually buy back and eat at home.
So do you think it's important to keep the hawker culture alive in Singapore?
I think it's pretty important because it's quite significant to Singapore especially, and I feel like a lot of tourists actually have the wrong impression of our hawker culture because of Newton Food Circuit. They think that hawker food in Singapore is actually really expensive, but they actually didn't venture into the correct hawker centres.
This is like our version of street food. Like, you don't go to other countries. Make sure us as Singaporeans we eat our own local food, and for tourists also lah.
I think with like the current generation who may choose to eat like fast food more, yeah, it might disappear. So that'll be quite bad.
What do you think that the government or Singaporeans can do to keep this culture alive?
Less prejudice against hawker food because it's actually really good. It's affordable and yummy. I think people who say things like, oh, you shouldn't take your first date to a hawker centre, I think it's that bad.
I feel like government should promote like the hawker centres more, because like working in a hawker centre isn't a very favourable job for many youths now.
The most important thing is to support the shops, like buying fruit from them or trying to learn more about the time and effort needed to set up a shop.
I also think that the government is also giving support to a lot of the people who want to become hawkers. I think that as Singaporeans we can, like my friend said, show up and buy from them often.
I think recently the government they passed a motion to provide more support for hawker, and one of the rules is that they will let long-term visit pass holders actually work as hawker assistants. Do you think this kind of scheme is good for hawker store owners?
My father, personally, he's a hawker himself, so it definitely helped him a lot with it.
The young Singaporeans would shun working in hawker centres because of the long hours, and maybe it's not as lucrative as certain areas. With more workers, it would certainly help Singaporeans who set up their own businesses to really thrive.
Us younger people should work at hawker centre. I've worked, I helped at a coffee shop.
Yeah, sometimes I do actually go down and help out. Wake up quite early and go down to the hawker.
So there you have it. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.